Oh, somehow we lost, hang on just a minute, we lost Laura. Give her a second. Laura, can you hear us? Is she muted too?
You're muted, Laura.
Muted, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we can.
Yay, okay.
All right, good. Okay, the gang's all here. So
Well,
we can
call
start
the meeting to order then?
Yep, go ahead.
Yep.
I'm good.
Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, we'll consider it approved. Are there any changes or corrections to the March 9th minutes?
Saw one,
Okay.
page 3, the second sentence. I don't know if it should say Mr. Anderson replied that it is correct or that it is correct. Say that is correct, I think.
Any other changes? Is there a motion to approve it with that correction?
I'll move to approve.
I'll move.
Second?
Consider that a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passed. We'll go now into our public forum. This is a time set aside for public comments. I don't know that we have any public on here, so we'll skip over that. Our fifth item on the agenda is to discuss the addition of a marquee sign to the exterior of City Hall at the auditorium entrance.
Right. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read the memo from our department and then the memo from Corey also about that, but someone named Lindsay Nissen was at a town budget meeting last fall, and she made the suggestion of installing a marquee sign at the auditorium entrance. And so the memo from the Department of Planning and Housing deals primarily with some background about it being on the National Register of Historic Places and why that was added to the list. And it was actually as a school, not as City Hall, but as the Ames High School. And that was back in 2002, I think. Yeah. And it talks some about the significance of the building. Of course, there never was a marquee sign for the auditorium, so this would be something new. And then in the memo from Planning and Housing, we also had some links to the Secretary of Interior standards and a couple briefs from the National Park Service, one on new exterior additions and one on architectural character and identifying the visual aspects of historic buildings as an aid to preserving their character. And hopefully had a chance to look those over. And then Corey did a memo, and I'll let Corey describe what he has in his memo.
Okay, thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
So Ray gave you a little background. It has been kind of the standard that the city always comes to the Historic Preservation Commission whenever we do anything to the outside, whether there needs to be approval or not. We've always just asked for input. I think the last couple are probably dealing with the doors, the door replacements, and then when we painted the doors, talking about that. So this one's a little bit bigger, but you can see in the memo we talk about historically there never was a marquee on the auditorium. It's just the limestone kind of just has auditorium into it. Council asked us just to report back on possibilities. So we're just really looking for some input from HPC on what you think or feel about a marquee on the City Hall for use of the auditorium. And we gave some examples, 2 good examples that are in the city right now, part of the Ames Pantorium sign that is on the radio station building. And then also Sportsman's Lounge. Those are both kind of marquees that have been there for a long time. But those don't really allow for messaging. They want to be used for events. Something like that might just say City Auditorium. But they wouldn't announce what events there are. So we went back and looked kind of through the historical photos of the History Museum and found the Collegian, which is probably what people envisioned when they made the request. Kind of a classic marquee with the signage to allow for announcing events. But I also want to show example, a lot of places now when they are redoing these marquees, they're making them look historic, but modern amenities. So LED message boards, lighting, things like that. So getting the look, but somebody doesn't have to go out there with a long pole and try to put the letters in on a windy day. So we don't really have any ideas what it would look like, anything like that. So we're just really looking for input, what you think about the character of a marquee on City Hall. So that's what I'm here for today. I'll answer any questions, but definitely no preconceived notions right now. After this, we'll research more, probably work on cost estimates and options and go back to City Council and see if it's something they want to pursue.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in, or I'll jump in?
Go ahead.
I guess my feeling is that attaching any kind of marquee like that to the municipal auditorium totally disrupts the historic image of it. And the auditorium is in itself is a significant part of the historic structure because the the design was redone at the last minute when Public Works Administration money was made available for a gymnasium and an auditorium to be added. Originally, the building was to be strictly classrooms, and then at the last minute, it was delayed by about 4 months in order to incorporate the gymnasium and auditorium into the plans, which totally filled the site, gave them no green space at all, no outdoor activity space or anything. So my suggestion very much is to do a freestanding event sign, which could be a digital sign, rather than something attached to the building. And I particularly dislike the idea of a faux vintage thing. I think that totally goes against the whole idea of historic preservation, to put something fake vintage on the outside of the building. But if whoever's administering will let me share my screen, I went and got a couple pictures that I don't like particularly, but
He has to ask to share.
yeah, somebody has to okay for me to share, whoever's hosting.
I think you can share at the bottom of your screen if you should see.
Well, but I just did that, and it says the host has disabled participant sharing.
Well, okay.
Okay,
Well, hang on just a minute then.
we're looking at some things here.
I think you have to make him a presenter.
If it's
Change role of attendee.
Try it now.
See if you can share now.
okay. Yes.
Oh, good.
Okay, there's an example of a freestanding sign that could be out there. This one happens to be police signage rather than auditorium, but it could just say Ames Municipal to Auditorium across the top, and then have digital event signage on it. Let's see, I've got a couple others that were a possibility. Okay, that one was a high school, but had digital signage across the bottom. This one, they're showing a picture, but it could just be words. And then there was,
We're still seeing the police one.
Yeah, we still see the Bowling Green one.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wonder why that is. You are screen share, new share. You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was a third one. Let's see. Okay. Whoops, where'd it go? Are you seeing some kind of body shop or?
The high school.
Still the high school.
Okay. Let's see.
There we go.
Okay. My idea was something that would be cantilevered and what I would suggest is moving the sculpture over to the other side of the entrance, so that this would be near the drive, and to make it cantilevered so it minimizes the amount of blocking the view for oncoming traffic and stuff. But I mean, this one's kind, you have to put the letters up there individually. I would suggest something that just has a very simple Ames Municipal Auditorium sign at the top, and then changeable electronic display at the bottom to have event signage, but cantilevered like this so that it would not be blocking the view for people entering and exiting the driveway. But that, I think anything attached to the building really detracts from the historic nature of the. Any other comments from?
Is the motivation for this just to generate more interest in the auditorium and the various performances? I mean, what's precipitating this?
I think it was a request at the city budget meeting. I think that was probably why it was dealing with the arts and getting more interest in the arts. And then city council just requested that we come back with a report.
Okay.
I think one thing for me that I think about is that it wasn't originally a theater, and marquees are typically for a theater. So it's kind of an awkward fit for me. And I really like, Peter, those examples that idea of just a separate sign, that it can be attractive and also digital, which I agree that that's a way to go because it's handy and easy to change and whatnot.
Well,
and
that lets somebody in the building change the message without having to go out there in bad weather and whatever. So
yeah, and I think that would give the attention that people are looking for to know where the auditorium is, because I know I think I've been in Ames like 13 or 14 years, and I really never even knew there was an auditorium there until I moved down. So that would be, I mean, I think it's a needed thing for sure, but I do like Peter's option.
I agree with outdoor separate. It does need signage. I've known people who really don't know where the auditorium is either, and now that people don't all get the paper, or it would be nice to know what's going on if there's some upcoming activity.
Yeah,
but not attached to the building.
Yep.
I would say that a marquee is reversible. I mean, I imagine anything that the city would consider putting in would be reversible, and as long as it's not damaging the historic fabric of the building, it's something you could lop off in the future if need be. But I like the idea of a standing sign too. Yeah, when you deal with the Park Service regulations, you walk a fine line between trying to create something that's contextual, but not something, as Peter said, that creates a false sense of history. And I think you attach something to the building and it's immediately going to almost seem like it's trying to create a false sense of history. So, I guess in my opinion, I think a freestanding sign would be the way to go.
Are there any more comments from anybody?
I guess
earful.
I would say again that, I mean, anything we can, this is an historic building. My sense is that the auditorium doesn't get as much use as it could. Anything we can do to promote it is helpful, I think. So I would hate to stand in the way of seeing that space used more often. I've been to one or two shows there, and I think it could get a lot more use and a good size.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will definitely report this back to council. I'll send you a copy. I'll send Ray a copy of the report if anybody wants to see it before it goes to council. It might be a while depending on how much research we need to do. But I'll definitely look at some freestanding signs so they can see some examples that I think you're kind of talking about to get interest in the auditorium, but not, something attached to the building that doesn't maybe fit with the character.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a deck at the rear of 720 Duff.
Yeah, the applicants are not connected on Zoom, but they're watching this on television. And this is a proposal for a deck in their rear yard. There was a ramp there that's been removed, and prior to that, there were some steps. And now they want to put in a deck and remove those old steps that were there and have I think it's 11 by 14 or 10 by 14 deck. And in your report, there were some elevations showing the design of the balustrade, and the balustrade for the stairs and for the deck will be made of wood, and then the deck surface and the steps will be a composite material, which is allowed by the design guidelines. So the drawings kind of show you the design of that. And it's an Italianate style of architecture, and there's design criteria for Italianate, but it doesn't really so much address decks. It addresses more siding, windows, materials, and they are using wood materials except for the floor of the deck and the steps, which is appropriate. And so in the report, we have the design guidelines, and we've gone through all of those, and we believe that they meet the design guidelines. The deck itself actually won't be attached to the house. It will be self-supported, freestanding, but and that's supported by the design guidelines as well. So our recommendation as staff is for approval, and I can answer any questions you might have for the applicant.
I think one point that should be made that wasn't in the write-up
Okay.
is the deck will not be visible from the street.
No, it won't.
It actually sits behind the house and behind a side porch, and there's a side street. It's a corner lot. There's a side street, but have a privacy fence along the side there, so you won't see it from 8th Street or Duff.
That's correct. Yeah, that's a good point.
Are there any questions?
Looked good to me.
Do we have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness then?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. I guess I should ask for abstentions as well. It passes then. And so we're to the point of,
And Kinzel is, let's see, one of the applicants just is
signed
trying to join in here. Well, so we're gonna
okay,
allow her to talk.
well, that doesn't look like Ann.
Ann, can you hear us?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for your help, Ray.
Oh, you're welcome.
And that's it.
Okay, yeah, it looks like a nice deck.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to have done this because the rear of the house is not, shall we say, original.
and the steps that are there are not to code, and it was almost impossible to get into the back of the house.
Yeah, you said a 13-inch step at the top, so.
We thank you for Ray's very kind help.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
I guess then we're to commission comments. I think it's been quite a while since we've been together.
Yeah, since March.
The one thing we had hanging at that time was the signage for the downtown designation. And has there been any further action on that, or?
There has not been.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can, I don't know what we want to specifically. I know that, I know we have to get the approval for council, and I'm just not sure what the next official step is before I get further into like thinking about the design and things like that. A firm yes, go ahead, and I just don't know where I'm supposed to do that or how.
Well, when we interacted with the council, they had indicated that they could probably cover the cost of the signs out of existing budget funds. I don't know how that stands with. I'm sure things are revenues are way down because of the COVID situation for parking and for taxes, everything. But can staff approach the council and see if they're still willing to have us proceed with getting a design for this?
Lisa, could you maybe write up a memo to the council? We could give them that so they can kind of have the background.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then we could include that in their council packet.
Okay, so when would you need that?
Well, let's see. Then there's a council meeting tomorrow night, and
I
the
can
next
try
one
to do it for that.
would be 2 weeks. Yeah, the next one is 2 weeks. So, so probably sometime next week would be good.
Okay, I'll see if I can manage to do something for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe it may be too late for tomorrow.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay,
Just what they typically do is include that in the packet that goes out on Friday.
sure. That makes
So,
sense.
so
Okay.
it'd probably be for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just get that to you by next week.
That'd be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
And it's so just basically a summary of what we discussed at that meeting we were at, and with kind of a general pricing. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then maybe tell them what we're requesting. That they do.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
any other commission comments to be brought up? Okay. Then staff comments?
Well, appreciate everybody joining in. We've got the full commission, so that's great. And good to see everybody's healthy. Hope you stay that way. And we don't have anything particular right now that's along the line of historic preservation to kind of update you on. But this deck is the first certificate of appropriateness we've had in a while. But it's good to see some things are happening.
Yeah.
We'll probably continue to have Zoom meetings for the foreseeable future. The council, they were going to meet in person, but they've changed their mind on that too, and they're going to have Zoom meetings for a while. So probably the boards and commissions for the city will do the same thing. So the next meeting we have will probably be like this again. But
I think it's a real workable
Yeah,
alternatives. So
yeah, it seemed to work well.
Can we still do something like, we were looking at the revisions to the plan? Can we still do that? I'm thinking, since there may not be so much else going on.
Yeah, I will check on that. I will. I'll talk to Kelly, our director.
Okay.
He's out right now, but he'll be back next week. Yep, good point. So that's about all I have.
Okay.
okay, I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:29.
Okay, thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.